women helping other women learn, grow, and empower. Learn new things, grow from what you learn. Empower others to do the same. Helping you to create a plan for your life, vision for a better life. Get connected to resources, seminars, trainings, women helping others with the gifts that they have. Contact Crystal Ifakoya, the founder and creator of WOW. Why not? Good morning, everyone. I'm your host, Invalette Sunshine, and this is Black Is Magazine, and we are reaching the masses. Thank you guys for being here. We have a very special guest. This interview is particularly special to me because I grew up with Miss Sophia Shoate, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. But I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you, Sophia, for being here and giving me your time. I appreciate it. The whole intent of the interview is to get inside of you and see and hear about your journey to the top. And that's basically what Black is about, is honing in on, first of all, small businesses, black owned businesses, and then people of color that are at the top. And so I wanted to invite you here. So Sophia, go ahead and tell the people who you are.
Okay. Thank you, Marvin, very much for inviting me for the interview. I am Sophia Shoate. I am the president of U.S. SMB sales for UPS. I've been with UPS for 30 years now, and I'm originally from Bartlesville, Oklahoma. And I'm not sure what additional you'd like me to share.
Yeah, that was good. That's basically what we wanted to know, because we'll get into the conversation. So again, thank you. I appreciate it. So you guys, 30 years, that's huge. That's a big deal. And so congratulations on your 30 years, Sophie. And congratulations on everything that you do. I have like a huge respect for you. And so I just wanted you to know that we do appreciate you. So the
Thank
first
you.
question, you're welcome. The first question I wanted to ask is, how, I want you to tell me how it was for you growing up in a small town. What was it like? Because I feel like this particular question is important, because how we supposedly, and according to society, how we are brought up is basically, how we're supposed to live our adult lives. Like, it's these particular things step by step that we're supposed to do: graduate school, go to college, get married, have babies, all that stuff. But when we get to a certain age, we make our own decisions. So what was your journey like?
Oh, I mean, I had a good childhood in Bartlesville. I mean, we didn't have a whole lot. It was the three of us, me and my two brothers, in the house with my parents. A small house, but we didn't lack for anything. So I think we didn't have a whole lot, but we didn't know that we were missing anything, because really the things that we needed, our parents provided. And we had a very close knit neighborhood, where a lot of friends and family all really came together. So, I mean, I've got lots of cousins that were like brothers and sisters that I grew up with, and then lots of friends that we came up with in the neighborhood, and we were all like one big happy family, and we leaned on each other for anything that we needed, and we leaned on each other for friendship. We leaned on each other just like family, and we had our ups and downs and our fights and all that other dysfunctional stuff, just like family. So when I think back, there were a lot of things that we probably didn't have that, more affluent children had, and, kids that went to private schools and all of that had, but we didn't miss it, because it was not necessarily needed, I would say, because our parents provided the things we needed, and maybe all that extra stuff that we might have wanted, that wasn't necessary. I mean, if we didn't get it, we just went without, but we didn't go without anything that we needed.
Absolutely. So I can, and I'm sitting here and I'm just going all the way back, and we come from the same place, same type of family bringing up. We didn't have a lot, just like you, same story. And so I can relate to that. You go through, your childhood, you graduate from high school. What happens after high school?
Well, after high school, I think about that a lot because I went to NEO Junior College in Miami, Oklahoma, and then ultimately Oklahoma State. And when I graduated from high school, I mean, it was just natural and expected that that was just the next step. And I mean, I just didn't even think otherwise. I just like, okay, I finished high school now to go to college. Now I didn't go to a big grandiose college, and I ran track in high school, and probably if I had pursued it or thought to pursue it, or my coaches, thought to pursue it, I may have gone to a more prestigious college or university for my education. But I mean, I knew some people that went to NEO, and that came to mind, and I went to NEO. I knew college was next, and so I did that, and that was always the expectation. So that's one thing that I always talk about with young kids is just having that expectation to go to college, because the same way I think some just automatically don't think that it's a possibility, so it's not even in their mindset. And then others, it's just, hey, the parents always talked about it, they always said that was the expectation, and so they just went because that's just what was expected. And I think if we put that in people's mindset, then they think more that it's just a natural thing to do, and it's not an unusual thing to do to go to college or to a university. And by the same token, college is not for everybody,
Yeah.
but education is.
Right.
So if you don't go to college, there's other paths that you can go down. And even if it's immediately going to work, it's just knowing that there is a path to move forward and get some type of education to prepare you for the future.
I think that I've grown to not, accept excuses of, where I come from or I can't do it because of what I've gone through. Children these days, it's kind of different from us, and they have a different mindset than we have. What do you say to the young children that you see in those predicaments?
Do something. That you have to do something. And I think today there's more, um, and maybe role model is not the right word, but there's an opportunity to see more people in successful positions today that look like them than we saw when we were coming up. And to have that visual should give them some motivation and inspiration to do something.
Sure.
And like I said before, college is not for everybody. I mean, some people barely make it out of high school and they're just happy to make it out of high school. And maybe they need life for a while before they decide, what path they go down. But life includes taking responsibility for yourself and for something, which means get a job, learn a trade. You have to do something, and be an adult in this world and take some responsibility. So I don't fault, put down, or judge anybody that doesn't want to go to college right out of high school. Some people it's just not for them. Some people just can't make it work
Yeah.
right away.
Yeah.
But you have to do something and
Yes.
have some ambition, some desire to do something to be a productive member of society.
I agree. I agree with that. So, moving on, you went to college, you graduated from Oklahoma State. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
When you graduated, what, if you don't mind, what are your degrees in?
I have a degree in business management with a minor in marketing.
And so,
So, and part of that was, what do I want to be when I grow up? What I want to do? And I knew if I have a business degree,
yeah,
that goes across the spectrum and gives me that foundation. And I just naturally gravitated toward marketing, so I took classes in marketing, and that was of interest to me. But when I graduated, I didn't have a job right away. I did an internship right there back in Bartlesville at 66 Credit Union, but it really didn't pan out into anything. I wanted to move to Dallas because for us, Dallas was the big city. Uh,
Yep.
I left and went to Dallas, stayed with my cousin for a while, looked for a job, and nothing really panned out. I moved back to Stillwater for a little bit, um, and did some jobs that really mean nothing. But the whole time I was trying, trying to figure it out, trying to do something. Eventually came back to Bartlesville and was staying there at the time, and put in an application for a sales position at UPS and didn't get it. But then the opportunity for a temporary assignment came up, and I took that opportunity, to do something at Christmas time, and that was back in 1990. And I did that for the Christmas peak season, and it gave me a feel for the organization. As I mentioned, I had applied for a sales job beforehand, so I knew a little bit about UPS and that I wanted to venture that way. But when I worked there, it gave me a little bit more insight on the company, and I knew it was a good, strong, stable company that would have a good long-term career for me.
Right. And sometimes we don't think about that when we're out. We go out and we're job seeking, and that's another lesson for younger people to learn, is that you have to look at your future. Some of them are just living for the now and just take whatever and not really trying to make a plan for their future, the stability of our future. So that's another great point. So what I want to talk about, any struggles, if any, that you had. So once you've taken the temporary position at UPS, and so from that temporary position, because we're saying temporary, was the project over, or did you finally get your connection during that tenure?
No, after what we call peak season was over, the position had ended. But again, I knew I wanted to do something with UPS. And the business manager, Gary Ray, at the time, saw my work ethic, and he saw my ambition and desire, and really encouraged me and said, UPS hires from, within and promotes from within, excuse me, as much as possible. So you just got to get your foot in the door. He said, so, look for any position to get your foot in the door, then you can pursue what you want. And I think that's a big lesson for people, because, some people say, hey, I want to be the CEO of the company. If I don't get that job, I don't want any job. And it's like, okay, you get no job.
Yeah.
But, maybe you started as the janitor, but you got to learn the organization. You got to understand the organization. You got to meet the right people, and then your career takes off. And some people forget that just getting in the door sometimes is that first opportunity to, move further. So, I waited for an opportunity to come up, and a part-time counter clerk position came up. So I had a degree, and I took the position and thought, okay, I have a degree, I'm working part-time, I'm a counter clerk. Is this really what I went to school for? No. But I knew the opportunity within the company. I knew where I wanted to go within the company, and I knew just getting in was a start. And it was excellent, because it gave me a chance to learn a little bit more about the company. It gave me a chance to connect with the right people that could propel my career forward. And it gave people a chance to see me and what I could do. So when I did apply, which was immediately, for a supervisory position, I had people in the company supporting me, and vouching for my work ethic, vouching for my skill set and my talent, which helped get me the position within 6 months of joining the company.
Wow. So I hear a lot of people say, well, you got to know somebody to do that. You got to know somebody. No matter, I have my degree, it's been hard, but you have to know somebody, and I don't know anybody. Do you find that to be true, that you have to have that champion for you when you're trying to pursue a career or move forward in anything that you do? Let's talk about that.
Well, one thing I tell people, they ask about books that I read, and there aren't a whole lot of books that I recommend to people, but there is one, and even just the title alone, it's not even necessarily the meat in the book, but the title alone is called forget a mentor, get a sponsor. And it is about getting that sponsor that is going to speak for you when you're not in the room, that person that is going to vouch for you, push for you, put your name in the hat, with the people that make decisions. And you have to make sure you look for those people that are going to sponsor you. A lot of times we look for those mentors, which is great, and I think everybody should have a mentor or more, more than one, because that mentor gives you advice. That mentor is the person you can bounce things off of. That mentor is the one that might set you straight when you need to be set straight. That mentor does those things for you, but the sponsor is the one that speaks for you. So does it help to have that? No doubt, absolutely. And I have had many sponsors throughout my career, but I developed those relationships to get those sponsors. It wasn't like I went to somebody and said, "Hey, would you be my sponsor?" I demonstrated that I was worthy of their sponsorship. And once they got behind me, then I made sure that I didn't let them down when I got the next position or the next opportunity or the next project. I made sure that I stood tall, I was successful, and that they were proud to continue to sponsor me for the next opportunity. And they have influence to do so. So I think it absolutely helps to have a sponsor in whatever you do, but it's also not required because it's not always easy to get that sponsor. You have to prove yourself in order to get that sponsor. If you know somebody within an organization that can mentor or sponsor you, absolutely make that connection, and show them what you can do and let them know your aspirations. But if you don't know someone, then you have to network. So networking is critical.
Yeah.
You can't sit back, do nothing, and expect people to just hand something over with it, hand it over on a silver platter. That happens too.
Yeah.
But if you know what you want to do, you know where you want to go, what you want to pursue, you have to go and network and understand, who can help you, who are the influencers. And I was a part of a Black executive leadership program, and they had a guest speaker, and one of the things he talked about was it's better to network to learn versus networking to earn. And what he meant by that was a lot of times we only network because we're trying to see who we can connect with that can get us to what we want. But he was like, network to learn, because the more you learn from people, the more valuable it is. And every time you learn something from somebody, you can use that, to propel yourself and your career forward. So is it important to know someone? Absolutely. But you have to network to get to know those people. You have to put yourself out there to get to know those people. And if you're an extreme introvert and you don't know how to do it or where to go, you just have to ask, and you have to, find creative ways to do it. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to your work ethic, your talent, your skill, your ambition, your desire. And if you are just a hardworking, dedicated, loyal person that is going to put the work in, that can open the door for you. So, don't hesitate to try for the opportunity, because some people, especially Black women, will say, well, I only meet 2 of the 10 qualifications, so I won't even apply. And the white man will say, I got 2 of the 10, I got this in the bag. And they go for it, and they act like it's theirs and they own it, and they get it. And meanwhile, the Black woman hadn't even applied for it and probably was 10 times better than the person who got the job. So if I give you any advice, it's to the young people, it's to say, all they can say is no, try.
That's
Just
it.
put in the application and try.
Yeah, I like that. You said several things. So whenever we talk about a mentor versus a sponsor, I like that you made that clear, because some people get that mixed up and think a mentor is the person that has the seat at the table, that has that influence to be able to get you in. So that the difference between a mentor and a sponsor is very important to know. And I think both are good for your career. But in addition to that, You have to be you have to be a trusted entity, a dependable entity, and you have to build that relationship, just like you said. So a lot of children that I see today growing up, I had the teens, and it was really difficult for me to see and hear their responses about just life in general, and like expecting things to just fall in your lap, and expecting that I'm supposed to have these, like, but it's not. It's so different, that so much different than that. You have to work. Some people, yeah, it's laid in their laps, but most of us, we have to work for it, and they have a hard time accepting that I have to work for what I want, but I also have to have a good attitude. I saw a lot of attitudes going around, as though somebody owes them something, and these are the things that we try to teach especially our young Black teens that are coming up, getting ready to face the world. So that I like that. I was an introvert, even though, Sophie, you might have not thought that before. So when I did get hired in my company, what I would do is I would go to work, and I would sit at my desk, do my work, and go home. I would go to my desk, I would go to work, sit at my desk, and go home. Well, I'm thinking, why am I not moving forward? Why do I feel like I'm in a stagnated position? Well, it's because that I wasn't building any relationships. I wasn't stepping outside of the box. I wasn't getting uncomfortable, because sometimes when you get uncomfortable, you got to get yourself in some uncomfortable situations to network and to meet people and to tell them, because ultimately you're responsible for yourself, for your career. You have to let them know what you want, and then go from there. Some people just don't have the confidence to step up and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for, or scared. Because I remember also, Sophie, and maybe some of you have employees that you've experienced this with, that are sitting at the table, they're wanting something but afraid to say it, or they're not comfortable with something but afraid to say it because I need my job. How do we teach people that it's okay to speak up for yourself, but it's a way to do everything?
Well, I think that's the key. There's a way to go about it. I mean, you don't have to stand up and be just, outright radical, disrespectful, belligerent to get your point across. You can be respectful, intelligent, articulate, and when you do that, I mean, there's nothing that anybody can say. I mean,
Yeah,
that hits people in the face harder than when you stand up and yell.
yeah.
When you just wrap some knowledge around it and put that in front of somebody, and all they can say is, you know what, you're right. Then I mean, they just can't deny the message that you're sending. So sometimes we just have to calm down, and really think about what we're trying to say and convey to people, and just wrap some knowledge around it, and really put it out there, and it can't be denied.
So you have to understand business. You have to understand, first of all, you have to understand yourself, dig deep within yourself, and figure out, what is it I want, and is it worth it for me to to go after a sponsor, or to look for a mentor, or whatever you have to do. So Sophie, that leads me into the next question that I have for you. So there are layers to making it to the top, right? It's not, we talked about all these things that we need to do, that is necessary to do, when it's not just handed to us. You started out in a temporary position, and from that you were adamant about that thing, so you went and you applied for the next thing that came open, and I think you said it was a supervisor. Is that correct?
Yes.
So from a supervisor, what was next?
Um, After the supervisor, I was account executive, and that's within our company as a supervisor level. And I mean, I did my job. I was successful at my position. I really just put my head down and put the work in, and showed the organization what I could do. And then they reached out and wanted to put me in a more supervisory. So I was a supervisor, but I didn't have any people reporting to me. I was account executive, so I managed accounts. They wanted to see how I supervise people, so they put me over. Interestingly enough, the position that I had applied for and didn't get was an air sales executive. the supervisor position they put me in was supervising those air sales executives.
See how
So
that works?
absolutely. So that gave me a chance to show them that I could manage people and not just accounts, which is what I've been doing ever since, and probably what brings me the most satisfaction in my position. But I did that for a little while. They gave me a couple other rotations, and then the company positioned me for a manager spot, and I was promoted to manager. And actually, they moved me to Oklahoma City. I've actually moved 6 times with the company, and that was my first move to Oklahoma City, supervising people, and to see how I could do that before putting me in a manager role where I would actually have supervisors reporting to me. So I demonstrated that I could do that job, and so again, for me, I wasn't jumping up and down saying, "Hey, give me the job, promote me today." Why isn't it me? Why didn't I get that? It was, let me just show you the talent that I have. Let me show you that I can be successful and I can bring success to the organization. And then connecting with the right people again that were in my corner and supporting me. So when those opportunities came up, I was the obvious choice. I mean, whether they wanted me or not, they couldn't deny it because I had demonstrated that I was the best one for the job. And so I was promoted to manager, and did several rotations. And another thing, that the advice that I would give, I have done so many different positions within the organization, and it was because I was open to do them. And some of them were painful positions, and I grew tremendously and learned from them. And some were like, "Oh yes, that's great," and it was a great job to take next. But being open to many opportunities, and many different bosses, because I've had some good ones and I've had some very, very bad ones.
Yes.
And either way, I've learned from both. I've taken learnings from each type of boss that I had, of what not to do and what to do to be successful. But I was open to those opportunities. It was like, put me in, coach. Whatever you put me in, I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability, and I'm gonna be successful, and I'm gonna show you the talent that I have for that position, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. And I think that bode well for me, that they saw me in different lights and saw that I could do different things. So when another opportunity came up, they weren't hesitant in selecting me for it, because number one, they knew I was going to take it because I was open to it, and number two, they knew if I didn't succeed at it immediately, that eventually, by learning, developing myself, I was going to be successful at that position, or give it my all.
Right. I like that. You said some of the positions were painful. Sometimes we have to do some things that we don't like to do in order to get where we're trying to go. We just have to. I like that you said that even though they were painful times, and even though there were some supervisors that weren't so good, that you still found an opportunity to learn something, to learn from those situations that you were in. So I like that. We have to be able to we have to be able to exist in any circumstance, and it's always a way to handle ourselves in those circumstances. But I think the key thing is that whatever circumstances you're in, that you learn from it, like you said,
Yes.
what to do and what not to do. What you're doing great, keep doing that, and what you need to fix it. Learn how you need to fix it.
One other thing to that, just
Yes.
people need to be open to feedback. Feedback is a gift.
Oh my goodness.
I tell my
That's a big
boss, you know what, when you tell me XYZ, it might be painful, but keep telling me.
one.
Like, let me know what you see as a deficiency, because if you don't tell me, then I will never fix it. Because if I thought there was a problem, I would fix it.
Right.
So tell me, so that I at least know that there's something that I need to work on or address. And even if it's just that boss's expectation, understanding their expectation, is important, because that's who, again, may be the voice in the room when you're not in the room. So be open to feedback. Some people just take that so the wrong way. They just take it internally, and it just destroys them. But You have to take it,
True.
go through the emotions you need to go through, but come out of it addressing it and moving forward, because feedback is 100% a gift.
I'm before we switch the tone, I want to stop. I want to stay here for a minute, because what do you do whenever you ask for the feedback? Because people, if you want to be better, then you have to be able to accept the hard truth. The problem that we're having, Sophia, is that we're asking and we're saying, and we're being told that keep doing what you're doing good, but you're not moving, you're not going anywhere. I'm asking you for that feedback. Okay, there's two sides of it. You get the feedback and you don't know how to accept it. You're mad now, right? I didn't want to hear that, because you didn't want to hear the truth. But then the other side of that is I'm asking, but nobody is really being honest with me. I want someone to tell me the truth, be honest with me, like you said, so I can fix it. Because if no one's telling me, then I think everything is great, I'm doing the right thing. So it's very important to be able to accept the constructive feedback that people are giving you. But as a leader, as a people leader, Sophia, how do you talk to your supervisors about being brutal, not brutally honest, but honest, so that their people can grow?
It's just that it's telling them that they have to do that. Some people aren't comfortable
They're
giving that
comfortable.
constructive feedback, and I'll talk about it from both sides. If you're being told everything is good, but the opportunities keep passing you by, when those opportunities pass you by, you have to confront your manager and say, I didn't get it, and I need you to tell me why I didn't get it. You need to be very specific and tell me why I didn't get it. So you've got to push them to give you that feedback. And if they say everything you're doing is great, then you have to call them out and say, then why didn't I get it?
Right.
And you have to push your manager, because they owe you that explanation. So don't be afraid to do that, because if they keep saying everything is great, but you keep watching, well, they just got promoted and but you don't never go to your manager and
doing this,
push the issue, then you'll stay where you are. But push the issue, and if they won't give it to you, you got to go to the next level, or to someone else to say, why didn't I get that job, and really push the issue. So that's on that side. On the other side, with my supervisors that report to me, I tell my people, you have to give people, the constructive feedback as well as, the good feedback. And I solicit that feedback about people. So if I ask them about an employee and they tell me, oh, this person is terrible and they have no attention to detail, they're not a good leader, then the first thing I say to them is, okay, when I go talk to them, they better not be surprised when I mention these deficiencies. And some people are like, they already know, and others will be like, let me get back to you. And I tell them, I am going to that person, and I am going to talk to them about these deficiencies, and they better not be surprised. But that's how I hold my team accountable to that feedback. And I go to people and I mention to them the deficiencies or the development areas that my managers tell me that person had, because I need confirmation that they're having those conversations. Right. And so you are the supervisor, the manager, the boss. You have to hold your people accountable to give their people that feedback. So when you get in those leadership roles, that is something you have to find a way to hold your team accountable. Trust, but verify that they are giving that feedback, because the last thing you want is somebody sitting out there thinking that they're doing a great job, and the next thing you know, you're telling them you don't have a position for them, and they're like, where'd that come from?
Yes.
That's not acceptable.
It's unacceptable. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I could talk about this all day long. You are a Black woman, right? You're Black individual. That's who you are. And you're a woman on top of that. And you are sitting at the top, right? The president of sales, right? Were there any aches and pains that you felt when it comes to inclusion and diversity? Like right now, in the times that we're in, That's like a big deal right now across the board. Let's talk about that.
Oh, absolutely. I think everybody has those stories. I am the first African American female in this role in the company. I was the first African American female in the role prior to this in the company. And when I say in the company, I mean in the sales, you know, president role and the sales vice president role. And I am doing my part to make sure I'm not the last.
Right.
But along the journey, yeah, there were lots of bumps and bruises. Many people did not want me in the positions that I held along the way. But I had great mentors and great sponsors, and not just sponsors that look like me, because as a matter of fact, they didn't. White females, black males, that really supported me along the way, and were and are a strong voice in the room when I'm not in the room, all the way to the top of the company. So I mean, I had those relationships because I built that confidence in them, and what I could do. But it was still a long journey. Like I talked about, I had some really bad bosses that didn't know how to manage women, how to relate to women, how to talk to women.
Mhm.
And I had to deal with them. I had to deal with some of them straight head on, sitting in the office and saying, let's have a conversation because this ain't working for me.
Wow.
And you got to do something different. And and when it's real and you're living it, I mean, those conversations are not bad to have. And it just goes back to what we talked about before, getting the feedback. When people don't want to acknowledge certain things, you just have to put it in front of them and give them an opportunity to
Yes.
fix the problem. Give them an opportunity to acknowledge it, because there is bias. And sometimes people just don't even recognize that they're doing it. And you have to bring it to their attention a lot of times, so that and maybe they don't even acknowledge it right in the moment, but when they go home and lay their head on the pillow and think about the conversation, they probably think back to not only your situation but other situations that they had bias in, that you may have opened their eyes to. So it all comes down to that communication, and putting things in front of people. But I mean, I just keep moving forward. I have the conversations that I need to have. You struggle through some of the things you need to struggle through. I've been in positions, and people above me say, you know what, this is one that it may not be that you come out successful, but you just survive it. Just get through it. Like if you just get through it, that is success.
I like that.
And you just recognize that, and it's like, you know what, I didn't come out of this one like the top dog or the number one performer or the best results, but I made it
I'm
through
a
it.
survivor. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. And that was success in a few of the positions that I have. And you just have to recognize that and know, for that situation, that was enough.
I feel like we're headed in the right direction. We have the conversations, and you're right, Sophie. They do not, people do not even realize, not because I'm prejudiced, but I didn't even realize it because I'm not in your shoes. So I didn't even realize that you even had those experiences because I didn't have those experiences. So a lot of times we're thinking, oh, they're just prejudiced. Oh, they don't like Black people. And really, that's not even the case. It's that they don't pay attention to that because they don't have to deal with that. We talk about, like, I have a son, and we talk about, I have to tell him how to act if he gets pulled over. Literally, these are real life situations. What you have to do when you get pulled over by the police officer, what you have to say, how you have to just do what they say do, right? And when we're having those conversations, it's like, I didn't know. I don't have that conversation with my son. I tell my son, pull over, show your license, and come on home. I don't worry. And these are the conversations we're having. What is, if you can talk about it, what is your, what are you all doing to bring it to the table, to the forefront, and what are you implementing, if to combat the problem?
Well, it started with conversation. There were many groups that started having conversations, just bringing their groups together, and I did the same. I brought my group together and said, let's talk about it. And the conversation starts out very light, and people don't know what to say. And I remember one of the calls. I was thinking, okay, are we gonna even get to the meat of this? and one of the directors said, "Let me just tell you guys the experiences I had as a Black man." And it was almost as if, as soon as he said Black man, like the doors just opened up, and the conversation started to flow,
Yes.
and people got real, and people got honest, and some people, they couldn't handle it. And I even acknowledged that on the calls. I was like, there's some people that, are leaving this Zoom call because they can't handle this conversation. They don't believe it. They don't want to deal with it. But I mean, we just started with conversation. I think all the groups really started having those real conversations, the Zoom sessions. But our CEO, Carol Tomei, really stepped up and put together a task force and said, we're going to do some things differently. We donated to the African American Museum to help support that. I mean, we've done a multitude of things. They established a group that went out and interviewed current and retired Black executives, and they're putting together a big book that's going to talk about their experiences. Carol has done several interviews with Black executives within the company, and really at all levels within the company, to understand and hear what they have to say, so that she can better understand what's going on. I mean, we're supporting Black businesses differently. We're investing in SMBs, Black-owned, minority-owned SMBs differently. We just brought on a new African-American CHRO, Chief Human Resource Officer, and the previous one, who was an African-American female, we just added a new position of Chief Equity and Diversity Officer. So we added a new C-level executive leadership team position, completely dedicated to basically diversity and inclusion and equity within the company. So we're putting the people to it. We're putting the money towards it. We're dedicating the conversations toward it. And we're really taking action, which is encouraging. We've changed some processes within the company. We are not only talking about it, but the organization is taking action on it, and it's very encouraging to hear and see. And some of the things I'm very excited about, and I look forward to 2021. I think we're going to see some very big things coming out of UPS as a result of the actions that the organization is taking. And we're putting our money where our mouth is. We're putting our actions where our mouth is. And Carol Tomei is leading the charge. She has no tolerance for social injustice and racial bias.
I love what you guys are doing. I work for an amazing company as well. And, from the top down, there are some really hardcore changes that are good or for the greater good of this thing. It's going to end up on the other side being really good. And so it just feels like finally companies across the board are looking at this thing and saying, hey, some didn't know, some knew and just kind of brushed it under the rug. But right now it's in the forefront and we're really getting some action behind that. So kudos to UPS.
Wow, women helping other women learn, grow, and empower. Learn new things, grow from what you learn. Empower others to do the same.
We wanted to really them to these people leaders and these that are in authority that can make decisions to understand we're not asking for a handout. We'll work for it. We just want the equal opportunity. So we don't want you to just give it to us. We want to work it, because my philosophy is that if it can be taught, I can learn it. Whatever it looks like, if you can teach it to me. Anything else you want to add before we get out of here? Are there going to be opportunities where you do hire from the outside, and not just particularly from the inside?
Oh, I mean, when I started, that was a big thing, but since then, we hire from the outside all the time. And I talked about the C-suite, and we just brought a gentleman, African American, from the outside, and we have a couple others that we brought from the outside. So our board of directors, the mix of our board is changing. We've added women and minorities to the board. So yeah, lots of opportunity there. But even within the organization, we're just making sure that that unconscious bias is recognized, acknowledged, dealt with, and that we're doing the right thing within the organization. Carol is really making a lot of change, and I think we'll see a lot of results from that moving forward. So I'm excited about it, and a lot more to come from that.
That's exciting. What about other cultures, like within our space, like other cultures jumped on and they were on board and was like, what can we do? We didn't know, we want to learn, we want to educate, and we're like, I'm my open door policy. If you have something you want to have a conversation about, I think a lot of them was afraid, like you said, until he said Black man, they were like, I don't know what to say. I don't know if I'm going to offend somebody, so I'm not going to say nothing. But the moment you say I'm an open door, then I start getting all these calls, right? Do you worry about other cultures, because we're kind of honing in on the Black culture, the African American culture, right? Do you worry about others saying, y'all, now you're focusing on them, what about us?
I mean, that's a good point. And just like anything else, you have to make sure you don't swing the pendulum from one side to the other and, exclude others, because it's about diversity, but the most important word is inclusion.
Yes.
And that inclusion as well as the diversity is not one. It is not just race either. It's gender. It's bigger than that. So when I talk about the things that we're doing, especially to address racial injustice and what have you, it's addressing across the spectrum. So it's the things that we're doing are not to say, hey, this is going to fix the Black problem in the world. This is saying it's addressing the entire problem. And so it's not trying to address one race and not another race, or one gender and not another. I mean, it's addressing the entire thing. And so when we talk about diversity and inclusion, I think everybody has to keep themselves in check. If you're only addressing one piece of it, you're not really addressing the problem.
That's right.
The problem is bigger than just Black people. The problem is bigger than that. So it truly is about overall diversity and overall inclusion of all people.
Yeah, I like that. Sophie, I appreciate you being here with Black Is Magazine. I can't wait to get your story in the magazine that is coming out January 2021. I thank you for being so supportive of this initiative that Black is pushing. We stand for all of humanity at Black Is Magazine. It's not just for Black people. We do hone in on the Black businesses, the small businesses, but for everybody. I mean, I'm talking about including everybody in this journey with me. So I appreciate you so much. And anything you want to leave that with those that may be watching that are concerned about anything at this point before we get out of here?
No, I thank you for the opportunity, and I greatly appreciate what you're trying to do. I think it will touch many people across the world. And I encourage you to keep doing it. Your message is powerful and it's needed. Actually, it's required. We have to have that in this country. So continue to spread the word and spread the message. And you talk about the young people, and that strikes right to my heart. And the platform that I stand on is about education, because knowledge is power. And as we talk about, it's not always college or university, is not for everybody, but if it is, just know that it's a possibility. So get your education however it is. Always be learning, one way or another. Always be learning, and then experience. And I talk to people about don't get stuck in what you know. Like, experience new things. Yes. I mean, I try to travel the world as much as I can. I try to eat different foods as much as I can. And it's not about I'll try anything once. Try it 2-3 times, because that third time you might taste it a little bit differently and like it more. Go places you've never been. Get out of where you came from and go see something different, because then you understand people differently. If you never go out and experience other things, you don't understand what other people are experiencing. So education, experiences, and legacy. Always think about the legacy that you're leaving behind, and try to leave a legacy behind. Think about those things. But that's my platform: education, experiences, and legacy. That's really what I live by now, and the purpose that I'm trying to find in my journey, as I move forward to the next chapter.
Kudos to you, Sophie. I'm so proud of you. I just can't say it enough. And I appreciate you. And I appreciate you being a face at the top. So I wish you much success in everything that you do. If you ever need me for anything, I'm here. I'm a phone call away, and I appreciate you.
Goes both ways. I'm inspired by what you're doing out there, and it motivates me to want to do more. So keep up the good work, and young people need to see you and what you're doing so they know it's possible, because
Yes.
it is.
Yes. You guys, thank you so much for being here, for listening in. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you think about this conversation. Great conversation. And I could go on and on and on about the conversation. But you guys, I'm going to get out of here for now. Respect yourself, respect each other. Have a good day. God bless.
Wow, women helping other women learn, grow, and empower. Learn new things, grow from what you learn. Empower others to do the same. Helping you to create a plan for your life, vision for a better life. Get connected to resources, seminars, trainings. Women helping others with the gifts that they have. Contact Crystal Ifakoya, the founder and creator of WOW. Why not?